And welcome back to Retrospect My Fantasy, where we are currently talking about Final Fantasy 13. So, before we get into the game again, we've got a couple things to go over. Number one is that we are partnered with Humble. So if you take that link right there, that'll get you over to the Humble homepage, where you can either sign up for Humble Monthly, which is a subscription service similar to Loot Crate, but for games. Pick out a Humble Bundle, which are usually amazing deals. And on top of that, you get to pick how much money goes to like charity or Humble or the developers. Or you can pick up a game from the Humble store, many of which are frequently on sale, and are usually on sale not at the same time as other sales, like a Steam sale or an Ubisoft sale. It'll be independently on sale on Humble, and usually for better prices. But on top of that, by using that link, not only are you getting yourself those awesome games that you're looking for, you're supporting charities, but you're also helping support this channel. And currently, our newest project that we're going to be working on is improving our lighting. So, please, you can help support us that way. We also have recently hit our affiliate status, which allows us to accept bits and subscriptions. So that is another way you can help support the channel. Now, final announcement for tonight is that on Saturday, March 31st, we are going to have ourselves that bonus stream and giveaway that I've been talking about since December? Maybe November? I don't remember exactly when I started talking about it, but it's been a while. And during that bonus stream, I'm going to be playing Telltale's The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, giving away a copy of said game, along with a copy of Psychonauts, and 3 $20 Steam gift cards. So, if you happen to know anybody that might be interested in any of that, please invite them along. There are going to be some rules that I will go over during the beginning of that stream and before each giveaway. But if you want to set yourself a reminder, if you take that link, you can do so there. Now, back to the game. So, what happened last time? Last time, we continued on with Lightning and Hope. That's his name. Where they were going through this weapons research facility. We gave them a whole lot of XP going through here, so that's good. And I want to say they're both actually completely tapped out on XP, so... Or, not tapped out on XP, but on where they can spend it. Yep. And... Yes, and yes. Okay. So let's instead work on our Commando and Ravager, Medical Ravager. Okay, actually that is... Let's do a Ravager Synergist and a Medic Synergist. Alright, so... And equipment-wise... I think we'll go with this one. And yeah, he's got the poison resist and the... Alright, so once we defeat these guys, we'll be on an elevator that will take us up to the boss of the zone. So let's beat him up. We had a little bit of trouble with the boss last night, but hopefully we'll get past him.
This'll be interesting.
So let's start with Super Soldier. Actually, that's probably what we should just set it up as, is start on Super Soldier. And then move forward from there. So, I was trying to think of some interesting ideas for topics. And the best that I could really come up with, because if you are fairly new, typically we talk about the game that we're playing, but this game doesn't actually have a whole lot to talk about, which is a bit of a problem. So, I thought we would talk about some interesting topics, typically relating to video games, but there have been a couple times where they haven't. And right now, I think it would be good for us to talk about storytelling. Alright, you know what? Let's just get rid of this marksman. He's being kind of a dick. So storytelling has pretty much existed since the dawn of time. Since sentient speech. Sentient speech, just since speech. Since the ability to communicate, stories have been one of the first forms of entertainment. They've been put into poem form, book form, novella form, visual media, audio media. Pretty much anything you can imagine, storytelling is involved in. I'm not even going to get into like the history of storytelling, because there's way too much for that to really be talked about here. That would be like a high-level college-level class. But one thing that we can talk about is storytelling in video games. So that's what we're going with today. Storytelling in video games. Conventional wisdom would say that all visual media are similar in their storytelling methods. Plays, movies, television, video games, puppetry, all of these things should have common elements, and they typically do. Video games being kind of an outsider in that, because it's not just a visual medium, it's an interactive medium as well. And when you add that interactivity, you start to get issues when it comes to using what we would consider traditional tropes. And that is because, you know, it's great to play the Hero of 1,000 Faces, but how many times can you play the Hero of 1,000 Faces? This is typically what's used in video games. Is a story of the young hero who's destined for greatness, the wise mentor, the artifact. It's their Arthurian tale. Is the Arthurian tale, as long as you don't get too deep into the full history of the Arthurian tale. If you just go with the surface level stuff, Merlin, Arthur, the sword, Morgaine, that is all that is that story. That story is the Joseph Campbell's Hero of 1,000 Faces. Which is all good and well until, like, when you read a story, most stories have an element of the Hero of 1,000 Faces. Usually the unlikely hero and the it's usually the unlikely hero and the mentor and the artifact. Beyond that, they typically try to change things up, because if you don't, then you start running into different issues.
Thanks. Follow my lead.
Whew. That hurt.
Time to switch it up.
And many JRPGs especially use this archetype. There's also frequently the archetype the archetypes that try to specifically break archetypes. And that would be like having the competent hero, like Lightning, the soldier, the hardened veteran, who is your hero, who is then thrust into something that they don't quite understand, or a new world, circumstances beyond their normal ken. And that's more or less what this story is. Now, there are variations on both of these stories, and there are several other versions, several other stories that exist. There's straight just the Fish Out of Water story. There's of course, there's the Heist Tale, which is usually a play on either the Hero of a Thousand Faces or the Expert. I can't remember what that archetype in storytelling is called. And of course, there's also genre stories that kind of try to take some of these ideas and play with them to try and get some slightly newer ideas, like horror stories or thrillers or action films. They try to kind of play on some of these and change some of the things around to make them a bit more interesting to people who have become desensitized to hearing these same tales their entire life. Now, one thing that I try to do when I tell my stories, which is solely through pen and paper RPG, is I usually tell the some sort of cross between the underdog tale, so someone who doesn't have effectively the information, but they rise to the challenge and then they win. I try to do a combination of that and what's the other tale that I typically tap into? Oh, hey, we need Super Soldier again. But one thing that I like to do in my second act is I frequently... I usually go for a 3-act structure when I do my pen and paper RPGs, although you can do 5-act structures, which are also fairly common. They usually just draw out a lot of the drama in the second and third act.
Time to switch it up.
But I usually use the second act as a large character development piece. What I typically do is I give my players kind of a big thing at the beginning that they're going towards. Either they'll have a mentor or a very clear mission. Once that event that they're going towards is over, typically what I do is I let them free for a little while. And for the entire second act, let them do their own thing, have the characters pursue their own agendas, just kind of let them run wild for the second act. And then the third act, I usually have some even larger, bigger event that draws them out of whatever they were planning on doing, whatever they had set their life on, and pull them back into the world as heroes once again in hopes that they will, you know, save the day. That has been successful so far, to the point where some of my players have deemed that archetype, or that structure, as being a Matt campaign. They've given me my own style, which is flattering, but I don't honestly think I really deserve it. It's not like it's that revolutionary or anything. But I'll take it. But what I've been experimenting with in my writing is, I don't really know what to call it, but it's a persistent world story where I have events for the characters, or I have events that are set up in the world that are just going to happen regardless of what the characters do. What I've been experimenting with is a city story. Everything taking place in a single story, or city. And letting them kind of pick and choose what adventure hooks they go on, what they resolve, what they don't, and the rest of the world will continue to revolve around them, ultimately culminating into some big event. Because I like my heroes to be heroes. Now, that's not to say that I'm not also a fan of an anti-hero or two, but I think heroes should be given the opportunity to prove their mettle. Whew. That hurt. This guy's rough. And aside from leveling up or upgrading our equipment, we are as powerful as we can be expected to possibly be. Hey, slash and burn. Let's take this guy down. He's almost dead. Let's finish him off. Good job. Good job, Hope. You deserve a gold star. A tungsten bangle. Oh, those just keep getting better. And, of course, the Crystarium is expanded. And I'm really sorry that you guys have to hear the 1970s food processor going on in the background.
Operation Nora, Stage 1 complete.
Now, when it comes to storytelling, there's obviously, like we've talked about, there's a lot of different types of tales out there. And a lot of different archetypes and tropes to try and use. And they're really doing a number here in this one. Oh, hey, let's level up. Let's not forget that. Which is fine. That's kind of what these archetypes are there to do, is to be used. What I am curious about is why they decided to split the team into 3 groups. It's not really... There's not enough really going on in each storyline to, in my opinion at least, to really justify it. I think what we're expected to see here is that these characters have their own story arcs, and it's more about character moments than about the whole story in this section. But like we've talked about, they really haven't given us a whole lot to really care about. Like, some of these characters are identifiable, like they have identifiable traits in their storytelling. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I give a shit about... Like, I understand Hope's revenge plot against Snow. Which, by the way, we haven't seen Snow in a very long time. I understand Lightning's willingness to completely buck the entire system that she's grown up defending as a reaction to them trying to kill her sister and everyone that she knows. I get it. Those are believable reactions from individuals.
That's where
The
you
problem
live,
is that
right?
these are supposed to be our heroes. And so far, they're very...
We'll stop in when we get there.
No.
They have
We'll see
very
now.
small motivation. And I
one's there
think
but
that
my
your
dad.
heroes... Side characters can have small motivations
need
in
to let him know
stories.
what
But
happened.
your heroes and villains should have big motivations. That's a personal feeling. Like, typically, as an example from my last D&D campaign, there was an issue in a city, and they were tasked by the Sultan to go to that city and deal with it. They got there, and it became a whole big problem that they had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Okay, time to hunt some lassie.
So what, we find him and that's that?
Don't get all hot and bothered.
Wow, actually seeing Snow again. I wasn't expecting that.
Sarah,
Um,
am I doing the right thing?
and then they had to trek through a jungle. Fight this whole big old, or fight a tiefling sorcerer and some golems that he had, and make a deal with the demon. Or sorry, not a demon, a devil. Because once the devil was summoned, he couldn't leave without making a deal. So they had to make a deal with a devil.
Hold on!
Okay.
After that campaign, or after that bit, they all went their separate ways and did some awesome stuff to help develop their characters. They all had some of their own private motivations, and that's pretty much what they went to go after. Then, afterwards, this evil sorcerer came back, not quite from the dead, just kind of as an amalgamation of dead bodies and souls.
Sarah!
Oh, you screwed up, Snow. And was like, they were having like horrible nightmares about a certain location, and it was like causing them lots of problems, and so they sought it out and dealt with it. That was the third act, which turns out was a world-saving act where they defeated this horrible creature called a Devourer and saved the gods of Alquidine. That's the campaign setting that I use from 2nd edition D&D. It's kind of a Arabian Nights sort of campaign setting.
Sarah!
And the reason I use an Arabian Nights campaign
I
setting
went to the Foul Sea.
was because I know enough to get by,
But I was
and I can fudge the rest when it comes to Arabian mythology. But most of my players don't know anything, so anything I tell them
I knew you were hard-headed.
That was...
Ugh.
Ow!
Snap to it. We're
becomes the
rolling out.
law. Anything I say,
Yeah.
they have to
Hunting
believe
lassie, right?
is part of my version of the setting, because they don't have a whole lot of preconceptions aside from like Disney's Aladdin.
I will keep my promise, Lightning.
And that's another tool that you can use, is tapping into a little bit of popular culture to kind of get your points across. That's kind of a storytelling shortcut. If you already know something is in popular culture, you can kind of shortcut part of your storytelling by just including that. For instance, if you were in a Greek-inspired RPG and they mention the labyrinth. Well, being Westerners, most of us are at least. I don't know about everybody. We all know what the story of the labyrinth is. Most of us have grown up hearing that tale. So if they bring up the labyrinth and you're playing in a game vaguely revolving around Greek mythology,
Dunno.
you already have a lot of
know.
preconceptions. They don't need to tell you that the
Thought you had somewhere
labyrinth
in mind the way you
is
took off.
a nearly
the smell.
endless maze
What?
with only one exit and one entrance and a horrible beast within.
Smells nice.
Now,
All nature.
you'll probably also know that that beast is a minotaur. Sorry, the minotaur.
Just smells damp. And I think something bit me.
Hide!
Scott.
So by using those
Closest city
common,
that way is Palamon.
um,
That is not good.
oh god, what is it called?
What do we do?
Those common storytelling tropes from a shared culture,
What do we do?
you can shortcut
Right now,
a
what
lot
can
of
we
your
do?
storytelling by giving them something that by giving them a slight bit of something they already know about. Now, when inventing a
Right.
whole world like
No
this,
choice.
we don't know anything. We don't know what a
We
Lycia
run
or a Fal'Cia is.
the other way.
They keep on using the words to try and get us used to them.
Could be to Nautilus.
But
As we set off,
they use
was like
them
you'd
so
that I was
they,
still
they use
there.
them just enough to be confusing if you aren't paying close attention,
We want to get the Nautilus. Our road's through here. First thing-
or and infrequently enough and not directly tied to anything to not give us a clear explanation. So they expect us to immediately fall in line without giving us the means to fall in line. So that is a storytelling drop right there. Is when you're telling a story, you need to give whoever you're telling the story to the means of understanding the story you're trying to tell by either shortcutting it with common tropes and ideas or giving clear, concise explanations that don't take a whole lot of expository time. Because the person that you're trying to tell the story to only has so much patience for what you are trying to get across. If the ideas you're trying to get across are extraordinarily complicated and make no sense, then you need to spend more time expositing about it. Especially if it's something completely foreign. The more foreign the idea or concept, the worse time you're going to have explaining it. Now, a story can be... the longer a story goes on, in terms of the number of acts or parts or whatever you want to call them, the more complicated you can make your story, simply because they will already have a portion of the story in mind when you start adding more and more and more to it. So that is a way that you can... That is another way you can kind of shortcut things, is by giving your what do I want to say? By giving your audience the Sure, magic wall and critical shell. By giving your audience more time to get used to what you're trying to tell them, later on you can layer more things on it
There's a sight I didn't want to see.
and make it more complex. But you have to start simpler. So what do we got here? Slash and Burn, War and Peace, Tide Turner, Dual Caster, Saboteur, and Synergist. Oh, we already have that. I like that one, Divide and Conquer. That one looks good. So we will set War and Peace as our standard. Are those slimes? Yeah, I guess those are slimes. They look like tomatoes.
No daydreaming now.
Right, Zaz. Get to it.
Keep it together. Keep up, old man.
And the problem with... I lost my train of thought. Oh, the problem with layering heavier and heavier complexities is if you don't maintain the simplicity, the simple aspects, if you don't maintain their, I don't want to say continuity, but their consistency. If you don't maintain the consistency of your simple ideas, and then just slowly layer more complex ideas upon it, all you're going to do is piss people off. Because what they're going to see is you're being inconsistent. That's what they're going to see from it. And when someone isn't, especially if someone gets into your story, they don't want inconsistency. The more consistent you can keep things, the better. Which, so far in my D&D campaigns, has not been an issue. However, we're starting to get to the point where things are becoming complex enough in my D&D settings that I'm thinking about essentially resetting and getting everything back to square one so that I can build a more consistent world. Because I didn't have a lot of these ideas in mind 8 years ago? No. 7 years ago when I ran my first campaign. So, it's not that I didn't know what I was doing. I ran a fine D&D campaign back then, but I didn't set myself up appropriately to... that's what I want.
This place would make a nice picnic spot, minus all the uninvited guests.
To keep going without damaging any future campaigns. I'll probably run more like a big one, which will reset the world in a manner of speaking. That's probably what I'm going to do. Which will be very interesting. I think I already know how I'm going to do it as well. Or I can just get new players and start over that way. But I like the players that I had. But when it comes to video game storytelling, you have a whole different aspect going on. Because you're not just telling a story, you're creating an interactive experience with your story. You have to try and tie... The best ones try and tie elements of the characters into the story. Which, as far as I can recall, is really probably just the Persona games. At least do this well. because everybody that's involved knows that the personas exist, so they don't have to hide it from each other, and they're the only people that are friends together. And so they're keeping a secret from everyone else, but not from each other. And the personas affect the real world, and the real world affects the personas. So that's probably one of the better JRPG games as far as that is concerned. That's not to say that it's perfect or always does it well. Let's just say that it probably does it the best. Because the problem is that in most games, especially JRPG or RPGs in general, your characters can do things above and beyond what the story calls for. And that's bad, because then you're just thinking, especially, okay, Final Fantasy. Most people think, well, when Eris died, why didn't we just use a Phoenix Down and res her? Well, if you haven't played all the other Final Fantasy games, especially some of the early ones, that wouldn't make any sense to you, because you're thinking, oh, she's dead and Phoenixes rise from the grave, so Phoenix Downs bring people back to life, right? That makes perfect sense. Except in previous Final Fantasy games, they explicitly say that you can't bring people back from the dead with Phoenix Downs, but then you can use them outside of combat to bring certain people. This is where they do it wrong. If this is in that particular event, you can bring certain people back from unconsciousness with the Phoenix Down. So now we know from that example that Phoenix Downs bring people back from unconsciousness, and when you lose a fight, you fall unconscious. So if you just fall unconscious when you lose a fight, why do you die? Well, because then the monsters just get to have their way with you. They eat you, or pummel you, or probably eat you. That's seems more appropriate for the types of games that we're playing.
Change is good, Pops.
Change is good, Pops. The one that always gets me when it comes to JRPG or RPGs is the abilities thing. So our characters have these awesome abilities that they can use in combat. Western RPGs are better about this part, but they can't use it out of combat. And the reason why I say Western RPGs are better at this is because, well, when you're playing Skyrim when you're playing the Elder Scrolls or Fallout or even a BioWare game like Knights of the Old Republic or whatever, frequently you'll get conversation options that correlate with your skills that you use in combat. But because it's a dialogue option outside of combat, at least it lends weight. Because you're so good with swords, you say something that is really intimidating. Or, like, shows off your knowledge, so then people pull out, like the good items, or like that's just a fairly simple example. Ooh, Belladonna wand. Isn't Belladonna a poisonous plant? Improved debuffing. 71. 3 strength for -4 magic, but the debuffs get better. Sure, that's worth it. Not that she uses commando, but she might someday. These little guys.
You're gonna regret this. Keep up, old man.
Now, one thing that JRPGs do get right, typically in storytelling, especially over Western RPGs, is the
Change is good, Pop.
our characters having voice. And I don't mean like being voice acted, I mean like having opinions. The characters that we play have opinions of their own, whereas in Western RPGs, typically the character is supposed to represent you.
Didn't even have to ask.
So it's supposed to be, you know, what you do. Except what a lot of people, myself included, do is they try to play those games numerically optimally because we're nerds and nerds do dumb stuff like that because we have OCD or some sort of anxiety disorder or something. That we like to do things correctly. And both JRPGs and Western RPGs have typically a correct and a non-correct way of doing things. It's just that the Western RPGs, by doing so, removes agency and voice from your character. Whereas in JRPGs, because the character is already pre-written with their own ideas and opinions, what you do to try and maximize and numerically make the playthrough perfect does not take away from that. The character is still doing their thing, even if that does not tie with what you are doing. So, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It means the characters are more important, but the decisions you make don't affect the story. So how do you balance that? Well, you can do the kind of the Chrono Trigger thing where the stuff you do in the world has consequences, even though it's numerically more advantageous for you to fight the cat bot, go and steal the guy's chicken, fight the cat bot, go and steal the guy's chicken over and over and over again. Spoiler alerts, Chrono Trigger's old game, I'm going to talk about it. When you do that, later on in the game, you get arrested. And all the stuff that you did at that fair has a consequence. Now, it only has a consequence once, so if you well, I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, if a game's over a decade old, chances are you had an opportunity to know, and this is early enough in the game that it's not much of a spoiler for those that may or may not have played it. But the things that you do in that, only up to once, so if you steal the guy's lunch multiple times, it doesn't compound. only the one time if you do it. If you do it at least once, he testifies against you for stealing his lunch. But then there's other things you can do, like, I want to say you can help a girl find her puppy? And that's a good thing. So there's a lot of, like, in that little section, there's, oh hey, we're pretty messed up. I should probably do some healing. So there's a lot more to that game's systems than are in other JRPGs, simply because they decided to think about consequences that the character might have for doing certain actions, despite it being numerically the best way to do things early on. Also, Chrono Trigger, one of the first games to have multiple endings. And a lot of them. And one of the first games to seriously involve New Game Plus. Just, you know, throw that out there as reasons why playing Chrono Trigger is awesome. Reasons why not to buy it on Steam right now is because it's the port from iPhone. The mobile, or not specifically iPhone, but it's the mobile port, so please don't support it until we get a real version of the game. But that is probably the best way of kind of compromising the Western RPG style of what you do matters more so than what the character wants to do, and the JRPG of the character is going to say and do whatever they're going to say and do,
You're gonna regret this.
and your whatever you do outside of those story moments, it has no say in that. Which is kind of, I think... Oh, shit. Interesting, because a common JRPG trope, or I guess just RPG trope, is the breaking into people, or not even... Yeah, breaking into people's houses and stealing everything that's not nailed down. It's a very common thing to do. I'm guilty of it, especially in Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. I almost said Far Out. Yeah, man, Far Out games. They're pretty awesome, man.
Change is good, Pops.
So it's just... When it comes to storytelling, storytelling is really difficult because you either resonate with an audience or you don't. And that's often determined by your voice. And voice is one of those things that you develop a voice, and some people are good enough writers that they can change their voice. I certainly am not.
Be a dock on the other side of these trees.
That's not to say that I haven't tried to change my voice.
Hey, Saz. Tell me about yourself.
Huh?
But
And family?
it's very difficult to do so in writing or storytelling to change your voice. But
Oh, so you're married.
those that can pull it off are very talented.
We gotta get you home. Your son needs you. Come on, we'll make it.
It's too late.
Is it the Lassie thing?
How'd you...
You might be a Lassie, but you're still a daddy.
You're right.
So, what's his name?
With some beautiful scenery. Good job, Square. You know how to put textures on pixels in a very pretty way.
Dodge.
Hey, Dad.
That is
Making a
quite the
wish, huh?
smile the kid has.
What'd you wish for?
Well, you're never happy.
Uh-oh.
You never smile. So here's what I wished. I wish that you'd cheer up and be like your old self again.
Also, important notice about video games and storytelling is
How about that? Your wish came true.
when there's localization involved and they have to change things for certain dialects
Okay.
and
It's my turn to wish.
Poor Dad.
different languages, a lot can be lost in translation of a story. A lot of languages don't have the robustness that in the English language does.
Huh?
You alright?
But that's because
Yeah.
what's that meme that English beats up other languages in Dark Alley for
You really got to keep it
spare
together.
adjectives and grammar?
Now, let's go.
Now I got kids looking out for me. Some dad I am.
Kids always look out for their parents, although she is a young adult and a powerful scale beast awaits you ahead. It could be difficult to fight for only 2 people. However, this enemy is slow on its feet, meaning you can easily avoid the encounter if you desire. You will face many harrowing challenges as you press on. When you feel your enemies may be too strong, avoid them. Okay, so now you're telling me specifically not to fight. Actually, before we do that... let's see here. Nope. Yep, Ravager is done. Saboteur is done. Medic. Ravager is done. Strategist is done. It's all about Commando now.
Would you look at that view?
So, we keep on checking in with Snow every once in a while. Are we ever actually gonna, like, get to use him again? Or is he just pretty much out of the story at this point? Like, what's his deal? Alright, time to end this guy's day. Interesting. This may be one of the few enemies that changes its appearance. Oh, this guy is actually going to be like a big problem. Alright, let's divide and conquer this guy. So, is that the only Saboteur ability you've got? Nope. Okay, that's good. Hey, look at that. And Saboteur has a poison, or has a damaging spell. Alright, let's get some synergy going. Ooh, War and Peace. Yes, we need to keep Zaz up, because he's the only one that can actually, like, seriously fight. Mainly because he just has a whole bunch of HP. So...
Keep up, old man!
Alright, let's see if we can't break this guy's shell off again.
Change is good, Pops.
Indeed it is. Alright, so... I'm not sure that I have a whole... Wow.
Is it really over?
Not a big fan of these failure states. And I can't change who my leader is on these teams.
I know someone who'd love to be seeing all this.
But passing these guys up would be a real shame because they've got a lot of XP. And this one's guarding an item. Can we get the item? No, we cannot. Come here, big scary monster. Follow me. Come on, over here. Nope, nope. Quit looking at me. God dang it. Alright, come over here. Does it just get tired or something? Come on. The monster's way over there. It's not even paying attention anymore. Not really. I'm pretty sure, as far as my insights on storytelling are concerned, that's about it. Let's start off with Tide Turner and see what that does for us. Although this guy seems to be immune to poison. And just immune to these spells in general? Also, the fact that he doesn't have protection spells, all he has is boosting spells. Wow! Yeah, that
I appreciate it.
sucks. Although now he has shell, so that's something. Also, this guy does not build up stagger very quickly.
I appreciate it.
Please don't lightning breath me.
Follow my lead, Pop.
Okay. Please don't lightning breath me. Please only lightning breath Zaz. This is the only one that can take it. Thank you.
Keep up, old man.
Okay. How is this one enemy that we're fighting so far far more threatening
Zaz!
than most bosses?
For you.
Oh, well, we don't have... There we go. There we go. Now we have a chance. We got that poison on there, which, I mean, isn't much, but it'll slowly tick down. If only we had haste. Yeah, this time we're doing a lot better. I'm okay. Now I'm not so afraid of these guys, because I know that even though they are difficult, they are beatable at our current place. And yeah, they're worth a lot of Criterion points, more than most bosses. So yeah, these guys are a pain in the butt, but probably worth it. Asuna, Kira. Yep. Asuna and Kira. Gotta have them. They're probably some of the most important spells in the game. More HP. A whole lot of HP. Zaz is a tank. Well, becomes a tank. Nice. The only reason I really fought that one was because of the item. Do I have to fight the other ones? No. Should I? Probably. But it'll take a really long time to get through all these guys. Okay. Well.
Now's no time to be taken in the scenery. Even a fugitive's gotta catch it.
Wow, he wants us to stop and hang out? Actually, he said something similar in the, when we were just straight up in the forest. Is it just me, or is his blitz way more awesome than, Lightning's?
Bye-bye.
He just unloads with his guns like crazy. Which have presumably limited magazines that he just changes out between each fight. But who knows?
Change is good, Pops.
Maybe we should start on slashing again. Maybe that would be better to start off on for most of these things. Oh no.
Bye-bye.
But I am very curious about how... So, in our opening sequence, we had Lightning and Zaz as our primary characters. The next character we're introduced to is Snow. And we haven't, aside from the... the occasional touch-in. We haven't actually used snow in a very long time, which makes me wonder if maybe they had a lot more for him in these early segments, but then they had to cut it. I don't know, it's kind of interesting to think about, but... Alright, just keep on blitzing.
Way to go, Zaz!
Heck yeah. Zaz is quite literally a tank. He has a whole bunch of hit points,
For you!
and he just shoots at enemies like crazy. I guess he's more like an APC, but still. You get the idea. Well, if he's gonna be the HP guy, let's get him all the HP he could want. And she is ultimately going to be probably our best medic. So even though these characters can kind of pick up and do whatever, I'm pretty sure Vanille is going to be our white mage. Alright, boss fight time. Presumably, maybe it's just more story.
You look tired. Not enough sleep?
I guess.
Not surprising. Cute girl like me. It's hard to close your eyes, huh?
I'm just gonna lie down for a bit.
Was she trying to get at something specific there?
Being made of the sea, it's not easy. I mean, look. Even I'm kind of worried. But even if we don't know what'll happen,
Does she know that she's like the chipper,
we have
upbeat
to
one
keep our
for...
dreams alive. Have something to look forward to.
Does,
You know?
does she know she's an archetype?
Next stop is Nautilus, City of Dreams.
Yep.
And how is that not incredibly annoying to have a bird in your hair? I mean, it's a small bird, granted, but still.
What? Sass?
I mean, aside from being the super chippery, like high energy, always upbeat character, her other major character development is that she's the how do I want to put this? The fan service. That's about the best way that I can put that judiciously. She's the fan service.
You scared me.
What's up?
I'm just thinking.
Is that so?
Don't blame yourself.
For
You know, you can't control who FLC picks for a focus.
My son Dodge. He was picked. He's a Lassie.
Well, okay. So now we're starting to get some of his story.
He said he wanted to see a foul sea, so I took him to go on a tour of the Uriday Gorge plant. Thought I'd surprise him with a chocobo chick to take home, but the second I turned my back, into the energy plant he went. Dodge! Dodge, come out here! Dodge! I know you're in here! Dodge! Where are you? Say something! Dodge! Hey, what's wrong? Dodge!
Daddy.
It's all right.
So there's a little bit of a plot
You
twist
okay?
there.
You're not hurt, are you? What's that? Apparently, those post-Lassie had snuck in and tried to attack the Sanctum Fal'Cie. It did the only thing it could and made Dodge a Lassie to protect it. My son, he got picked by a Sanctum Fal'Cie. He's a hero. But we're post-Lassie. Dodge's enemies. Psychom showed up right after that to take custody of him. Then, it was one test after another.
Of course
Even
it
then,
was.
they couldn't figure out his focus. Maybe it was look for post-Lassie. Maybe it was kill him. Either way, how could a kid that young even stand a chance? After he was made a Lassie, Dodge had some way of sensing things from Pulse. He was the one who found the Pulse Fal'Cie. But the kid can't fight. So, that's why I put myself on the train to Purgeville. I figured his focus had to have something to do with destroying that Pulse Fal'Cie.
Interesting idea.
Thought I could do it for him, and, well, you know the rest. If I was right about his focus, he's probably a crystal already. Of course, if he was supposed to take out that thing's Lassie, then either we die, or he's a Seath.
Die? Really?
Is that why you have guns?
It's a pickle, all right. But the bird says no.
It's a smart chocobo check. Maybe it turns into Boko. Maybe this whole thing leads us to Final Fantasy V in the end. And we can all be happier for it. So no floating treasure chests. Nope. Okay. Oh, there's a save point up there. There must be a boss fight up ahead. Especially right after a story point.
All right, then.
Dang, I was kind of hoping we could go around it.
A device that makes bad weather.
That is my kind of device. Now her hair's going to be all
Come
frizzy.
out to play in the rain, did you? Isn't that adorable?
I don't know, is it? Are we supposed to find it adorable? These spheres modulate precipitation levels in surrounding areas. Certain indigenous fauna exhibit rain-shy behavior, taking cover during storms. However, inducing showers can result in encounters with otherwise elusive hydrophilic wildlife. Hydrophilic. Words. They elude me today. Well, let's burn them down. Yeah. Although this guy's a pretty tough customer. I don't know about his other ones, but he's certainly tougher than most. Oh. Nope. He's the courtship dance, huh? Okay. So he's the male. Presumably. I mean, most animals are in most of nature, the males are the ones that have to do like mating dances and calls and whatnot. They have to attract the female, not like in modern human culture where typically the female has to try and attract the male. Or at least that's the common consideration.
If we regulate the weather, we might be able to control these nasty critters.
Maybe I want to fight these nasty critters. Did you ever think of that? Huh? No, you didn't, did you? So inconsiderate of Zaz. Not to take my feelings into account. Well, that one's probably dead soon. Yep. There we go. Ooh. There we go. Let's get Zaz back into fighting shape, as it were. Come on, Zaz, stop getting hit. There we go. Let's fight some more then. Did these frogs just spit on me? Oh, deep protect. Well, no, not having any of that nonsense. We need to... No mating dance, please. Thank you. At least the frogs are gone. Now we have one of those big creatures with a couple of the little... Like, to me, they look like kind of like penguins, but they're not. I don't really know what they are. I think they were called... The last ones were called gremlins? But they don't look like big scaly mogwai to me at all. And they certainly don't look anything like Gizmo or Spike. Is that too old of a reference? Alright, instead, let's start on... Let's start on Tide Turner. No, let's just make a new one. So we will have Ravager and Synergist. There we go. That'll be our new one. Now we're Archmage. Yeah, okay, so these guys are gremlins, apparently. Although, they don't really look much like gremlins to me, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers, so... Alright, then let's go to Medic and Commando. Well, Zaz didn't get his attack up. He got his magic up and whatever that sunburst-looking symbol is supposed to be.
I appreciate it.
Alright, let's end this guy. Hopefully quickly. Nope, he ended me quickly. Because that's
I'm sorry.
really annoying that they can do that. Random chance, do they use it on Zaz or do they use it on Vanille? Oh well. So all of her attacks now do lightning damage. Not that she has normal attacks, but guess I'll take it. Alright, let's get some healing up, at least. We need to get this stagger off as soon as possible. Not having that going is probably going to kill us.
I owe ya.
You for using that on Zaz. Was that little sunburst supposed to be speared up? Okay. We're getting there. We're so close. That'll be 2 of these things that we will have killed. These enemies that are almost more powerful than bosses. There we go, divide and conquer. That seems like an incredible waste. Could have been so bad. Fortunately, he's poisoned, so all we have to do is really survive, and he will be dead. Generating carapace, huh? At least he didn't lose his poison. I mean, that alone is slowly just going to tick away this HP. So like I said, as long as we can maintain survival, we will win this fight. I mean, it also helps that Zaz is doing some damage to it. I think ultimately the poison is doing more work than Zaz is, but whatever. I'll take it. whatever we can get to win the fights against these guys. Here we go. All done. Now we can pick up whatever's in this treasure chest, which will probably not be worth it. But that 200 XP is. A metal armband. Not going to specify what kind of metal this one is, I see. Not a tungsten, silver, or iron, just metal. Huh. What happens when we activate the sun thingy and change the weather? What do we get? Okay. And some sort of wyvern over there. I'm down. Let's go, boys. How you doing? Oh, they saw me. I don't know. A metal armband could be anything, really. It probably increases defense, or maybe has auto protect, or something. Or not auto protect, but like critical protect or something like that. But who knows? I mean, I guess we could just open up our inventory and take a look at it, but where's the fun in speculation? Alright. Not nearly as much XP, but you know, I'm okay with that considering... nope, not you. Metal armband. Resist deep protect. Oh, okay. That's kind of neat. If only we really needed that. Nope, wrong one. So I've talked about simple... I've mentioned long in the past, it has nothing to do with our earlier topic of storytelling, but a couple of the things that they could have done to help make this game more palatable to enfranchised Final Fantasy players is, I think, one of two things. Either A, let us have some say in what our allies do through kind of a either a similar system to the Gambits, or like Star Ocean, where we essentially can just turn certain abilities that we want them to use on or off. Maybe we shouldn't be so close to each other. Or by allowing us to custom make paradigms on the fly. Oh, hey, look. That guy has deep protect. But I have assumed. Never mind. We will keep this going. Alright, time to burn him down. Are we strong enough to fight a wyvern? I'd like to think so. Is it a smart idea? Probably not. try this one out. Let's see if we can't poison him. Well, we did at least poison him. Alright, let's go to War and Peace then. Once again, simple survival is the name of the game. And there it goes. Back down to simple damage. Ho ho ho! 580 hit points! Holy crap! Oh, because we have Deprotect. Yeah, of course. Well, now that that's gone, he's still poisoned. And we're pretty much good to go. I think we got this. With our horrible, kind of almost cheating strategy. Almost. Because apparently bosses are not immune. I mean, maybe this isn't a boss. Maybe it's just a really hard fight. Yeah, see, that was nothing on him. Not even half his hit points. Not almost killing him levels. Yeah, see, there we go. No problem. No problem. Also, when we get back to Snow, Snow's gonna have like 4,000 Crystarium points. It's gonna be ridiculous. Hell, if we ever get back to Snow at this point. I'm not so sure that we ever will. Alright, Commando it is. Ah, so close. Do we wish to fight a wyvern and... Well, first off, let's fight these guys so we can pick up the item over there. And then, let's see here, what time is it? 8:30. Yeah, we got the time. Maybe we'll fight another wyvern. They don't take that long. Maybe I'll try and sneak around back. It looks like that ever so slight path may branch and connect on the other side of this rock formation. Alright, yeah. Can you guys please stop hitting the meal? It's not very nice to hit someone, you know? In fact, it's quite rude, really. You Flandraga are very rude. Flandragora? Clearly they're making a reference to the flan and ooze and black puddings of like D&D and early Final Fantasies, but I don't know where the Dragora part comes in. If they're trying to make a reference to something else, I'm not getting it. If they just wanted to make Flan a little different, that's fine, whatever. That's kind of a game developer's purview, is to make things familiar but different. You want it to be familiar enough that you're comfortable with the ideas and tropes of whatever it is, but you also typically, not everybody wants this, but typically, people also want things just different enough. Ooh, Aqua Ring. That way, it's not exactly the same ground that they've tread on a billion times before. You know, if she had a melee attack one, I'm sure that lightning damage to her weapon would be really nice. As it stands, it's pretty much worthless on her, actually. But it's on the list of things he can do. So it's an entire waste of a turn when he uses it on Vanille, who doesn't even have something that allows her to use her melee weapon. Please don't kill her. Oh, thank goodness. I was hoping just to eke out enough damage to kill it while it was stunned, to not have to relive that horrible fight. Oh, looks like we'll have to fight another wyvern anyway. So maybe we won't go back. Also, we're almost done with these two current Crystariums, so... Oh, so close. Alright, so... Anything over here to make it worth my while? No. I'm guessing if I were to hit... Was that a much bigger wyvern flying around out there? Are they foreshadowing the boss, or are those just normal wyvern? I think those are just normal wyvern. Never mind. Alright, so we're going to first fight these little guys. Alright, now we are really hurt.
Take that!
Alright, Vanille, you have to heal yourself at some point. Fight him. Although the visual effect that we get from having lightning on the weapon, totally awesome looking on both the weapon and when it summons lightning down to attack the enemy. That part, totally awesome. Almost worth it for that alone. Vanille, please heal thyself. Because you're probably going to get bit. And this thing, when it bites, it's bad. Well, she can almost... Nope. As soon as next. Because it is going to use Bite on zippers. Maybe? Nope, yep, here it comes. Alright, time to heal up then. I'm glad I also removed Deep Protect, because that could have been very bad. Very, very bad. Okay, let's do Tide Turner. Let's just get all our buffs and debuffs out of the way. Bravery, huh? If I remember correctly, bravery increases physical damage output. Ah. So you know, put bravery on the medic and the primary magic user of the team. There we go. Time to burn him down. Come on, guys. Big hits. That's what we need. And lots of them. So, I don't like these characters as much, but this team, in my opinion, is way stronger than the Hope Lightning team. Well, we need to finish him, like now. Thank you. Perfect timing. Good job, Zaz. Also, that lightning damage buff to weapons lasts a really long time. Alright, so from here on out, everything that they earn, XP-wise, just gets banked. For once their Crystarium spheres expand. Bam! Right in his face! Should have kicked him when we came down. Alright. How did we not get surprise on that one? He couldn't see us until we jumped in, and he didn't have the visual cue of the exclamation point above his head. I call shenanigans on new Final Fantasy 13. Severe shenanigans. Whew. These guys take a lot of stagger from magic. As opposed to taking extra damage. I guess that's a good way of doing it. Because, I mean, stagger does directly relate to the amount of damage that you take with successive hits, but like in... Well, also, even the basic attack cycle one, Commando has a magic attack. So... Really? We got seen? Oh, we must have got seen by the gremlins. Alright, so we need big group attacks, please, ladies and gentlemen. Zaz, please use Blitz. Nope, he's just gonna use Ruin. I mean, I guess that's fine, but it's not going to get us multiple enemies. Also, why is Firaga not hitting multiple enemies? I mean, we had the same thing happen in, what was it, 10? Yeah, 10, where the Auras and Agas wouldn't hit multiple targets. But then they went back to multiple targets in 12, and then back away from multiple targets in this one. What's the deal, Square? Pick one. Multiple targets or not. This is the kind of consistency thing that I was kind of talking about last week when it comes to development. or even slightly earlier tonight when we were talking about storytelling. Because storytelling goes beyond just literally the story you're telling. It also goes into, with video games, your mechanics and your environment. If your mechanics and your environment don't help your story, I mean, you're wasting the tools. Because those tools exist not just for you to interact with the game, but to help enhance the story. And if the developers aren't willing to use those tools, well, they're losing out. Now, with JRPGs, it's a lot harder to incorporate the mechanics of the battles into storytelling without having some scripted fights. I don't know why I opened that, which they could totally do. Scripted fights wouldn't be new. Usually they happen early on, and it's usually the character who's our hero getting beat up so that later on he can improve and show off his mettle. Man, these guys know their fire spells. Ain't got nothing on me. There's Firaga on them. Then they'll know. That stagger was really fast. Holy cow. Well, maybe Firaga is multi-target. It's just that the AoE is so small that I haven't actually gotten many enemies in it, so I haven't noticed. God, why do I keep doing that? It's because it shows a lot of XP earned, and I want to use it, except there's nothing to use it on. Okay. At first, because, you know, we're near the water, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? But no, he's talking about, like, traps, or if something seems out of place. $10 minutes?
Uh-oh. That's not good.
What do we do?
All right, I got it. We sneak.
Right.
Just too much to ask to cut me one break, isn't it?
Apparently. Also, do those creatures have a mask on their face? So we actually want this right out the gate. Tide Turner. And now we want War and Peace because we're dying quickly already. So much for boss fights. Also, this boss fight is, I think, unique thus far in that it's the only boss fight to have multiple enemies? That can't be true, that this is the first one. But it's certainly an early one in that field. Alright, well, hey, they're both poisoned, so we're good on that front.
I appreciate it.
So even while we're messing up one, the other one's going to be taking some damage. Come on, Zaz, keep... Alright, and Leal, we're gonna try and mess you up something fierce. Oh, that got rid of all of his status effects. That's not good. Oh boy. God damn it, really? Oh, that was good timing. Why are they both focusing on Vanille? Damn it. Leave her alone. All she wants to do is make it easier for Zaz to kill you.
I appreciate it.
Also, are they hurting each other with those? Because if they are, even better. God damn it, really? Ooh, that was good damage, Zaz. Please do that again. Nope. Yeah, they're definitely messing each other up. More so than we are, actually. They're doing a lot more damage to each other. Oh, word.
I appreciate it.
Tide Turner. God damn. These guys do not let up. Well, he's gonna die soon because he's right on the cusp of stagger, and he's almost dead beyond that, and he's poisoned and deprotected, so... So long, boss. For 1,000 points. Holy crap. And the Crystarium is expanded. There we go.
A hop, skip, and a jump, and we're in Nautilus.
Nice.
The city of dreams.
I think.
If
We
only we were dreaming up those clouds.
really don't know anything about Nautilus. Aside from the fact that they call it the City of Dreams. Alright. Let's check out this expanded Crystarium. And how expensive. Holy crap. That is a very expensive skill tree. Okay. Alright.
Excuse me. I don't know if it's time to be daydreaming.
5 minutes. We probably do not have enough time to push forward and see what is up over the horizon. So we are going to go ahead and save and hold that off for tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me. And before you go, I have a couple of announcements to go over. First one is that we are partnered with Humble. So if you follow that link, that'll take you to the Humble homepage, where you can sign up for Humble Monthlies, pick up some Humble Bundles, or get something from the Humble store. By using that link, not only will you be getting yourself some amazing games, at least I hope so. I hope you're going to buy games that you want and that are amazing, but you're also supporting charity, and you'll be helping support the channel as well. Also, on the 31st of March, we're going to have that bonus stream and giveaway I've been talking about for the last 3, maybe 4 months. So if you go to our events page, by following that link, you can set up a reminder for yourself so that when the date is coming up, you'll get, I believe the reminders can be in either email or text form. That way you know what's going to happen. Also, before we call it a night, I want to thank Grim Reaper and Mr. Henry for participating in chat tonight. Thank you guys very much. Now, I want to thank all of you for coming and hanging out with me. And I hope you have a wonderful night. And I hope you will come back here again tomorrow night for more Final Fantasy 13, where we will push forward and see what is over that horizon. Have a good night, guys. See you tomorrow.